Hello, my loves. Welcome back to True Tori TV. On this channel, we talk about mindset shifts, holistic health, soul connection, gut health, basically everything that you need to go deeper, dig deeper in your self-mastery practice and ultimately live the best life possible without barriers and resistance and restrictions. And so if any of that interests you, you are absolutely in the right place. This is your soul tribe. You can hit that subscribe button and the little bell in the corner so that you get notified whenever I upload next. So today we are talking about the 3 types of anxiety. So I kind of came across this in launching the Empowered Anxiety course, and if you're interested in that, I'll leave details in the description box below, and I also have a whole video on it, so that will also be in the description box below. But I came across this while I was launching the Empowered Anxiety course, and I realized that anxiety is not just like anxiety, like there's different kinds. And so there's some things that we can control and there's some things that we can't control when it comes to anxiety. And there's also some things that we can do to alleviate it. So it really all depends on what type it is. And so I'm going to go over the types so that when you're experiencing anxiety, you can sit down and just be like, okay, where's this coming from right now? So I'm going to give you kind of like my definition of them and also just some examples. And then, so let's get into it. Okay. So number 1 is physical, like a physical reaction. So this really comes from like a poor diet or drinking, too much coffee. So I'll give you an example of this. Is when I had my first panic attack ever, like 15 years ago. I had smoked a whole pack of cigarettes. I was a rebellious teenager, right? And I had no boundaries with myself, no limits. I smoked a whole pack of cigarettes. I drank like 5 Snapple iced teas. This is like making me cringe right now because I have a completely different lifestyle, obviously, and I'm not passing any judgment. I know how shitty it felt, and it's just making me cringe. But okay, so a whole pack of cigarettes, 5 Snapple iced teas, and like 20 ounces of coffee in less than 12 hours. So I had the cigarettes and the Snapple like at night, like probably before I went to bed. And then I had the coffee first thing in the morning, and like within 2 hours I had the first panic attack of my life. And so I was always kind of sensitive to caffeine and to sugar, but that was obviously a complete like overdose of it. And that triggered a panic attack. I wasn't actually nervous about anything. I didn't actually have anything that was bothering me, or maybe I had some unprocessed emotions, which we're going to go over later, but really it was triggered by the physical reaction of all of that nicotine and caffeine and stimulants in my body. And so that's one way, right? Stimulants, caffeine, sugar, even like hot sauce is a stimulant. My doctor told me that. I was like, what? So you learned something today, hopefully. The other thing is gut health, right? So gut health, your serotonin, your gut is your second brain. And so your mental health is literally made in your gut. So your gut health, 70 to 90% of your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, is made in the gut. So if your gut isn't producing properly, if your gut isn't in good health, if it's leaky, I can make a video on leaky gut because I had it. There's not going to be optimal serotonin production, which means that your mental health is going to suffer quite literally because of your physical health. And so people who think that these things aren't connected, obviously not you because you're here and this is a holistic health community, or you're curious about it and you're here and you're like, oh wow, that makes a lot of sense. everything is connected. Everything is connected. Look up the gut-brain connection. I'll also make another video on that, probably with one of my friends who knows even more in depth about it. But it is so crucial for your mental health, for your gut to be healthy, because all of the hormones are made there, and they determine the strength of your mental health. And so this comes from, you know, eliminating processed foods, or just not eating as much of it, having as much greens as possible, you know, feeding your body the right things. That's why I have superfoods every single day, and I'll actually leave a link for the superfoods that I use down in the description. You could also book a consultation with me if you want to learn about it, or you want like a customized plan, any of that. I'm here for that. But yeah, that's you have to feed yourself things that actually feed your body, actually nourish your body, actually, you know, support optimal physical health, because it has a big part in mental health. So the second type of anxiety is habitual / circumstantial. So that's going to be like, an example of that is if, you know, you're late to work every day and you're getting anxiety because you think your boss is going to catch you and yell at you. Well, you can help that by not being late to work every day, by changing the habit, which is ultimately in your control. It may not be easy to change the habit, but it is ultimately in your control. So, so yeah, that's habitual. Circumstantial would be like, you know, if you're in a social encounter and you're talking to someone and you get nervous because you don't know, like maybe you think you get awkward, or you don't know how to, you know, kind of have those kinds of conversations off the cuff. Again, those are some things we can kind of control by getting to know yourself more, honoring yourself more. You know, if you're just an awkward person, that's okay. Own it and know and love yourself for being that, and give yourself grace. And when you love yourself, no matter what, those situations no longer cause anxiety, because you don't care what the other person thinks. Like if you're getting nervous in a social encounter because you don't know what to say, you're probably nervous because you're wondering what they're going to think. If you don't know what to say, if you pause for too long, if, you know, you start sweating, you know, whatever it is. And when you unapologetically love and be yourself, and that takes work, confidence, everybody thinks you're born with it. It's practiced, it's built, it's maintained. And so when you are confident within who you are, those situations no longer cause anxiety. So again, habitual and circumstantial, we have control over. Number 3 is deep-rooted emotional response. So this is the one that takes some work to kind of like decipher, decode, bring up, process, feel, move on. So that's a little bit of the process that I just like literally said in those words that I was saying right now. So when you have an emotion, maybe a traumatic event that happened, whether it was with you or with someone else, and you can't deal with it, right? Can't deal with it in that moment. So you push it down. And what happens is it continues to get pushed down. And literally those emotions live in our cells. Like, look it up. They live in our cells. They don't go anywhere. And so that causes tension. That causes the cells to not be like, have as much energy as they would, because there's blockages with these emotions. And So when this happens, your ego is basically the part of your brain that is like your crazy roommate that just wants to protect you, but literally acts crazy all the time. So basically, your ego will do anything. Its objective is to protect you from being uncomfortable or in danger. And it can get really irrational with how far it will go to protect you. So this comes with really building awareness and self-mastery practices, which I teach in the course and which I teach in my one-on-one coaching, which I talk about all the time on Instagram. So, be in any of my communities, any of my containers, and, this is what we're going to focus on the most. And so when you identify and become more aware of the ego, you notice that your ego is actually bringing up anxiety to disguise and distract you from the emotion that is unprocessed, that's living in your body. So the reason it's doing this is because if you process that emotion, and I'm going to do another video about processing emotions, but when you process emotions, it's painful. You're literally bringing that moment that caused that emotion, the first moment you ever felt it, which was probably a traumatic or painful or really difficult and uncomfortable experience, you're bringing that back to observe it and to actually process it, since you never did. Your ego is like, whoa, let's protect her from that. That's gonna suck and it's gonna hurt, and we don't want to do that. And I don't want her to go through, her or him to go through this pain. So let's just like disguise it with anxiety so that they just think it's anxiety and then they don't realize the emotions behind it. So it's literally like an unprocessed emotion cloaked in anxiety. That's what number 3 is. And so what I want you to do with this information is just observe yourself. This is a part of getting to know yourself. What makes you tick? How are you responding in the situations when one or all 3 of these types of anxiety come up? So you could journal on it, you could just think about it, you could meditate on it. You could ask me about it. You can DM me at TrueTori on Instagram, or put it in the comments if you feel comfortable. This is a safe space, safe community. I will not tolerate any bullying, negativity, or any kind of like trolling or anything like that. So know that this is a safe community, and that everything is safe in any of my communities, on any of my platforms. So I want you to reflect on this. Think about, in your life, which one shows up the most? And then, what can you tweak in your daily lifestyle to alleviate some of these things? So like if it's diet based, like if it's the physical reaction, you can start to tweak that. You can start to alleviate that right away. Like I know, for example, when I eat gluten, when I eat refined sugar, I get anxiety. Like it comes up right away. But now I don't allow it to control me, because I'm like, okay, just because I ate a bunch of cookies and like I'm reacting right now. And so it really separates you from anxiety, and it also just gives you this understanding where it's like, okay, I know what this is. And it doesn't feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Anxiety's coming up. I'm going to have a panic attack. Like you are able to just kind of like disarm your mindset with anxiety when it comes to these things, because you just understand it a little more. And that was my whole point for making this video. So observe yourself, observe the way that you handle these things, Observe how these types of anxiety show up in your life. Let me know in the comments. DM me on Instagram at TrueTori, and we can talk about it. And if this video helped you or resonated with you, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to get a notification every time I upload, and I'll see you on the next one.